Hey up guys, welcome back to part number 5 of my Sukhoi SU-25 build. This kit right here in 48 scale. So we obviously didn't go with the Czech version, we're going with the Ukrainian digi camo. So last week we did the fun part of painting it. Now this time we're going to weather it up and make it a little bit worn down and beaten, kind of using the oils and also a weathering wash as I usually do. Nothing too crazy here. First of all, we're going to add the decals, so let's go ahead and get started. Welcome back, and we're going to start off with decals. So this is where we left off here, looking pretty good after a little mishap of the, well, just make sure it's not sticky, and it isn't, mishap from the adhesive reacting with the paint, but nonetheless, we're looking pretty good. And here are the stabs too. And yeah, since last week, I basically just gave it a quick coat of satin acrylic. Just a quick hose all over it, just to protect the paintwork and also create a nice smooth surface for the decals and the weathering wash, which will apply, right after this. So decal wise, I mentioned this early on in the build, but we are using this set of Kaguru decals, which you get all these in here. Reasonable price too. I think it was like $15. And considering I just looked at the 35th scale Spitfire decals and they were like $40, I think this is a pretty good deal. So it's beautiful. I mean, it's almost like artwork in here. Big, nice color graphics. Here we go. This is what we're building. This guy right here. It's pretty much 1-to-1 scale almost, if not actually a little bigger. And when I look here, we don't have much going on at all really in the set. We just have what we need, basically Ukrainian markings. So we have, the this, which I basically cut off the sheet. Not many at all. And we'll put those on first, and then we'll make a game time decision. So we'll make a game time decision as to whether we go with the afterwards with Eduard and this giant slice. Zoom all the way out here. This giant slice of stencils. Again, I'm not sure if my appetite's going to handle this or not. We'll get these on first, and then I'll make a game time decision on these guys. But yeah, so that's the kind of game plan, I guess. And let's kind of go through the process. I'll put one decal on, share with you guys. So hot water in here. As you can see, I brought my kettle out. Not boiling, but hot. Now, again, people say it all the time, but for me, I like to use hot water. It just sets them off quicker. You have to wait so long, and I don't know, just bed down better, I think. So let me think about what we're going to do first here. Let's do the big 21 at the front. I think that's a probably good way to start. So I'm just going to take... Okay, I'm just going to cut my decal off, move these out of the way, and this 21 is going to go on the front. So I'm just going to dip it in the hot water, take it right out, put it on a plastic mat, and just leave it. And never used these decals before, so I'm not sure if this is going to take a few seconds or a couple of minutes, but we'll see. And then in the meantime, I'm going to look at my reference sheet, which is off camera here, and just kind of look at where it goes. It goes right under the front windscreen here, right there. So I'm going to dip my brush in water and just put a tiny little bit, you don't want to soak it, spot where it goes. Okay, that's almost done, another 20 seconds or so. So I'm going to let this, again, just let it kind of ease off the paper, and don't rip it or anything, and then just pick up my model here, and I'm just going to slide it. This is where it gets tricky. I'm trying to do it on camera, around the tripod. I'm going to find the spot. Again, we've got the gear on here too, which is making it super tricky to hold. Okay, drop it in. And again, I'm checking where it goes. It goes further over. And it goes. It's nice because this these instructions have the pound lines in, so you can use the pound lines as reference. And I believe it's exactly right there, easy. And you got a nice line here so you can get nice and straight. So that's the 21 on. And what I'll do now is I'm going to just let it sit basically for 10-15 minutes. because I want it basically to bed down. I don't want it to move around. So once it's stuck, I'm basically come back with my solver set. So this is my change in the F14. I started using this because this past year I had nothing but issues with decals, and I think it just came to the decision that my decal solution I was using had kind of just gone off, expired or whatever, and it wasn't as damaging my decals. I just couldn't get them to stick. So I went with a solver set, which is very strong, and with the F14 it made them stick and no problem at all. So we'll continue using this for now. Yeah, so I'll come right back. So I'm gonna let it stick. Check it again, make sure it hasn't moved or anything. Yep, we're in good shape. I'm just gonna let it stick and come back. Oh, one other thing to note is too, decals, just work a little area at a time. Don't go all over the aircraft, because ultimately when you pick it up, you can get decals stuck to your finger. So let's work a little area, take my time, put a podcast on, chill, and once that's dry and done, later in the day, move around and do a different area of the aircraft. All right, so it's been about 20 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, and I actually accidentally cut one of the roundels off, so I put both on the wings and just end up doing the whole side. I mean, there's only a handful of decals there, so put all decals on, no problem at all. It actually went down really well. I'm wondering if these may be a cartograph. And now we're going to go ahead and apply the setting solution, which again is solver set. Now I'm just going to dip my brush in here. I have a dedicated brush, just put my finger right on the decal, which is not a good start. I'm just going to rub it on each decal. You don't want to drown it, just make sure the whole thing's covered. Like so. And now it's getting tricky to hold. Just want to wipe off the excess. Reach for a Q-tip. Any drops, just want to wipe off. And there we go. So I'm just going to sit this down now. And again, the reason I let it sit for 20 minutes before I do that is nothing worse than spending 5 minutes getting a decal perfectly lined up, and then you go to wipe this on and it just knocks it. So I want it to stick first in place, and then I come back and just add the solution. So this solution basically is just going to basically suck the decal into the plastic, and hopefully you see all these beautiful rivets and panels and stuff come through it, so it gives that painted effect. Now there's no shame in doing multiple coats of this. I do one, see how it looks. If it's a tricky area, maybe around the curve, I might be doing 2, 3, 4 maybe. But in between, just leaving it a good 30 minutes, 45 minutes between each one, just to kind of assess, see how it's going. But I don't touch it at all now, because if I do, I'll put my finger right there and pull the decal off and damage it. So I'm just going to walk away, and that's pretty much the process. So at this point, I think we've covered decals pretty comprehensively over the last few months of my videos. So I'm going to go ahead and finish all this off with these ones, and then most likely cherry pick some of the Eduard ones, some of the bigger stencils, and see how we look and go from there. And then once I'm done completely decaling, give it another coat of satin, same stuff as I used before, just to seal all the decals in, and we'll come back and start the weathering. Decals are on, and they actually went down really nicely, these kangaroo, or whatever you want to call them. You can see there, hopefully on the camera, the light, how it's bedded down, and you can see all the panel lines through it and all the rivets and stuff, which is exactly what we want. Now somehow again I did miss this decal. It's here somewhere in the cave. I don't know where it went. It maybe blew away back of a desk or something. But at some point in time, if I ever find it, I'll just apply it to this side. Not a biggie. So they all went down beautifully. A couple of rounds of solver set. And I thought, you know what? I took it in the house last night and dining table after dinner. And I thought, you know what? Let's make a start and put some of these stencils on. Now, the first thing was, I was like, oh, there's actually a Czech markings on this box in this set I have. So maybe these are in Czech, not Russian. So they're very hard to see, but I basically took my camera out, zoomed way in, focused, and read, and looked at a lot of Googling of Czech writing, and these do seem to be like Russian stencils, Russian letters, although you can't read them to naked eye, and they're very small. So I started last night. I put a couple on the wings, and soon found out that they're so small and so little, even with my glasses on, I could barely see them, and I have pretty good eyesight. Just tiny little dots moving around. It was just a pain to use, and as I always say, this hobby should be enjoyable. So if you're doing something you don't enjoy, then there's no point doing it. So see, I cut a few out, and any bigger ones, like big groups of decals, I put on maybe half a dozen or so. Like down here, for example, at the front here, there's a couple. See the yellow there. But in general, and this guy right top here, but in general, they're just like way too hard to see, way too fiddly. And the problem also is the instruction sheet. Again, I kind of mentioned this several times. I just don't like Zvezda instructions. Sorry, Eduard instructions. I just don't like the way they're printed. I just don't think they're that easy to follow. Yeah, that's why I've been using the Zvezda instructions. And when it comes to stencils, what a nightmare. So you've got all this, but the numbers, there's no gap because they're trying to squeeze it on this one size of paper, whereas other companies, you get the big pull out. You got one size of paper here, and all the numbers are like blended. Like, see, they're all it's just one long line numbers, and they're all like mixed up, and it's hard to see where they go on here. It's just not easy to follow at all. It's just word scramble. So I gave up, and like I said, I did a few larger ones, which you could maybe see. And after that, I thought, I'm just kind of done with this. We got a lot going on with the pattern, and we're going to do a lot of weathering and washing and that kind of stuff. So that was it. So I gave up and just did like I mentioned, maybe I don't know, a dozen or so on here, which you may be able to see. So that being said, let them dry overnight, and then came back this morning, gave it a quick satin coat again, same satin, just to seal decals in, and now we're ready for weathering. So I have about 30, if not more, build series on my channel over the past 5 years, and every single one we do exactly the same thing, and we're going to use Flory Models Dark Dirt Wash. Just going to pour it into a little tub here. This one we're using the other day, so we still have some in here, and this bottle's almost empty, so let's pour a little bit out here. And this is a part I enjoy with camo patterns because it looks good, but once you add these pound line wash, it just brings all the camo together and blends it into one, and just always looks nicer. So just simply can get a brush and just rub it all on. And this is watered down a little bit. I think I mentioned this last time, my last couple of builds, but these bottles, when they get a little older and down to the bottom, they get a lot thicker. So I just add a drop of water just to thin them out. And also it makes it come off easier too. So start with the stabilizers. And should point out too, you can see it's kind of cattywampus here because the gear broke off once again. So trying to put the stencils on, the gear broke off. At least have one left, two broke off. So at this point, I'm just going to let completely finished and run it on the very end. There's no point risking breaking off again. So again, there's that reason why I normally leave gear off to the end, because it's so fiddly, especially this one. You just touch it slightly, put any pressure, it just snaps right off. So yeah, so anyway, let's do a wing as well. So we'll grab this guy, and again, nothing, just rub it all over. And I used to do a gloss coat with LP9 Tamiya, but I found that the gloss was just too glossy and the wash just came right off, whereas the satin, it gives a tiny little grip, so at least it kind of stays in the panel lines. And we'll do one as a comparison, and then you can kind of see how it looks if you've not seen this before. And yeah, there we go, simple as that. So let it dry, as always, 20-30 minutes. I actually have to run out. There's actually a demo day for Aprilia at my local motorcycle dealership. I'm meeting a friend down there, so it'll probably be a couple of hours before I come back and remove this, so I need to get going in a few minutes. But yeah, no problem at all. So I'm going to let this sit, dry off, and then come back and power of editing in a few seconds. We'll come remove it. All right, so it's been 2 hours I left this on. So back from the motorcycle place, didn't buy anything, but tons of people out there looking at the Aprilias. Anyway, back to this. It's obviously all dry now. Just gonna take a paper towel and just dab it, lick it, and wipe it off. And there's no real pound lines on this, so this particular piece, it's not really going to show very well. So let's go to the wing. Again, give it a little lick. A little bit more licking. Okay, I'm going to switch to the other side, to a clean side. And again, circular movements. I don't mind leaving some of this on either because it's kind of grimy and beaten up a little bit on this one. So we don't make it super clean. Some builds I just want just on the power lines. On this, I don't mind if it's on the surface too. Actually encourage it because, yeah, a little bit of a beaten up kind of old SU-25 is what we're going for. Get in here. And again, the beauty is it's all painted. These aren't decals, so you have to worry about ripping anything off or anything like that. And then I'm just going to go back with the airflow on the wing. Create a few little streaking effects. And there we go. So you can quite easily see the difference here. So I see a lot of models online. People do beautiful work, but they don't add a power line wash, and it looks like this, which is fine if that's your style. But you saw how simple it was to add this wash, and look at the difference. The detail. It picks out all the rivets, all the detail, and for me, I just think it looks, it's night and day difference. It just blends all those colors together a little bit. The power lines going through and all the rivets going through, and there we go. So again, untouched and a simple weathering wash. Nothing to it. Now, you don't necessarily have to do oils and stuff like I'm going to do, but I mean, just that alone, I think just on an aircraft like this, just really makes it stand out. And again, blends all those camo colors together. So that's it. Simples, right? We've done it so many times before. Nothing kind of crazy about it. I'm just going to do the same on the other wing. Well, basically the whole aircraft. So whole aircraft, underside, sides, top is going to get a wash, and I'll bring you back once it's done. You kind of see the finished result. Right, so get you up to speed. We got the wash on, got the wash off, and then applied a coat of ultra matte varnish from AK. And that's kind of how we're looking. Even though it's ultra matte, I mean, it's still like the light catches a little bit of sheen. But yeah, looking good. Also taking off the mask because that's like a final clear coat of the day or the model. And so the mask came off, looking good, no problem at all. The other thing I'm noticing with the canopy, you can see there it kind of sticks out a little bit. So touch of super glue maybe just to hold it in. Just bows a little bit, just hold it in place. Canopy mask came off. Also just touched up silver in these areas here because we need to put the clear parts on later on. And remember, we still need to put the front of the intakes on as well. But yeah, that kind of gets you up to speed. So it's all dry. Now we're just going to put probably a liberal dose of oils on this one because I do want to grind this up quite a lot. So usual, it's like Groundhog Day. Every build pretty much the same thing, same right? But Starship Filth, once again, Absalom 510. Now I've heard these might be discontinued or being replaced, rebranded. So yeah, I might need to pick it up. I've had this for what, 6, 7, 8 years now. Same tube, so if I can, I might need to pick another tube up just in case. See me through my next 30 or 40 models. So don't need much at all in one of these trays. Again, mentioned it many times before, but excuse my reach across the camera. It's just these Amazon. You get 100 for like $5.99. They're just like 1 ounce sauce containers. Good for mixing up, paints and stuff, and also the lids are good for like little pallets. So as you can see, just tiny little bit of oil there, and I do like to just thin it out slightly, maybe because it's getting a bit old. Let me put the lid on so I don't dry it all out. And when I say a little bit, just like tiny, not even a drop. And that just kind of just softens it up a little bit, makes it a little wetter. But you saw basically, I don't know, a fraction of a milliliter, barely anything going in there. Take all these micro brushes. These for eyelashes. I think for applying like glue around your eyes, put eyelashes on. Not that I ever do that myself, but you get like 100 on AliExpress or Timo for a couple of bucks. And these, I actually use one of these brushes for painting this, just a little silver paint. Dipped in and just roll it around and throw it away. So good for like little jobs like that. These little plastic micro brushes with a little like tiny little cloth bit at the end. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dip it in the paint here and simply just going to pick out a panel line like this guy right here. And sorry, let me see. It's holding the light. Basically just dotting down the whole thing. Now, I used to run a line down it, but for me it was a little too much. So the dot kind of less paint, and it kind of spreads it out a little bit. And what I'm going to do is, with this brush, very warm brush, just going to blend it all together. And do it so the dots disappear, and it just kind of blends into the line. And there we go. So compared to no oil, oil, and you can see it just adds that nice kind of weathering tone. People use various colors. I just like the Starship Filth, to be honest with you. It's just I find it a really good color to I don't know, just find I like the color. I do like dark faded yellow for hydraulic stains here and there, but sometimes I was finding it's a little too much. Again, just pick out random lines, blending. And as always, as I mentioned, if you do too much oil, literally 1 drop of enamel thinner. Now, make sure it's a blue top, X20, not X20A, the enamel one, not the acrylic. If you have too much, a drop of that and a Q-tip will wipe the whole thing off real easily. It's going to take usually about overnight. So if I do it now, by tomorrow morning, it's dried. And as I mentioned before, normally it mellows out too, the color. It might look stark to start with, but it does kind of mellow out. I'm just going to do around here too. And noted, I don't have the gear on yet, because again, we're being a little rough with this. I don't want to knock the gear off. So we'll glue that all back on once I'm done. And you can add streaks too, like streaks I'd add like back here, just a dot or two, and just streak it back with the airflow. Like that. Might be a little bit overdone. So with a Q-tip again, you can just rub it off. And that basically is it, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing, again, too crazy here. That wing's done. This one isn't. And I'm just going to work my way through the whole aircraft, exactly the same thing, and probably take me 20 minutes and come back underside as well, and I'll show you once I'm done. All right, we're done, and you can see we're looking a little bit more weathered down. Now, often with builds, there's always 1 or 2 things you do wrong, like whether you miss the decals, or you, I don't know, you break something, or crack the windscreen. There's always something. The Tamiya F-14B I just built was flawless, and that thing went together, no problem at all. I didn't mess anything up. Now with this one, obviously the gear keeps breaking, and horizontal stabilizers. The fit is so tight, I just forced those in with no glue at all. They just forced into the slot. Now I sat down and it kind of fell into my lap, and what it happened was it's dislodged. The one of the 1 ounce weights come loose, and now it's a rattler. Unfortunately, hey, nothing we can do about it now, but yeah, unfortunately. But when it's sat on the shelf, it's not going to make any noise. But moving around now, we've got the rattle, the dreaded rattle. But you can see we're all weathered up now, looking apart, a little bit more like lifelike and worn down and beaten up. Pick up, accentuating those power lines with the oils, and same on the underside. Well, but you can really see the underside. But yeah, looking much better now than we did at the start of this episode, I think. So I'm going to wrap this one up. I think we're done with the weathering. Yeah, I think what we've got left to do now. So back next week, or week after. I think I'm doing this every 2 weeks now, not every week. And we're basically going to add all the pylons of all the ordnance, which we built already. So all that gubbins is going on the bottom. We've got to fix the gear 1 more time. Hopefully we can fix it. If things won't go together, then obviously we're going to have to just close it up and do it in flight. But I'm pretty sure we can let this thing glue back together again. Pylons on, lights. We've got to build still got to paint and build the speed brakes, which are pretty iconic on this one. And again, we got the nice 3D printed parts from the Eduard set. So these guys need to be done. All the lumps and bumps, all the antennas, all that kind of stuff too. So still quite a lot to do. So I'm going to let this one sit to the side, just dry for a couple of days while I work on the rest of the stuff. And we'll come back and we'll finish up, do the final reveal next time. So thank you for watching as always. If you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button. Also, I do have a Patreon account. I don't really promote it that much, but All this stuff goes on Patreon, early access, way in advance, plus all exclusive content and giveaways, all kinds of other stuff too, for as little as $2 a month. So yeah, catch you next time.